Thank you all for joining us this evening for our Smart City Kids panel on international colleges. My name is Jill Ortman, and I'll be moderating tonight's webinar. One of our goals at Smart City Kids is to serve the greater community by bringing students and parents accurate and up-to-date information on topics ranging from parenting to college admissions. We are very fortunate this evening to have 4 representatives from different parts of the world. Eric Cannon from the University of Toronto in Canada, Cora Morrison from IE University in Spain, Gabriela Mendez Madeira from Middlesex University in the UK, and Chris Weber from University of British Columbia. They will provide you with insights into their institution and discuss the benefits of studying abroad and answer any questions you might have about applying and how US companies and graduate schools feel about international degrees. If you have any questions, please type them in the question box rather than the chat box. Thank you. So let's start. I'm going to ask each of you to just tell a little bit about yourselves and a little bit about your institution. So we can start with Erin, excuse me.
Awesome. Thanks, Jill. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here tonight. My name is Erin Cannon, and I'm one of the recruitment officers at the University of Toronto. One of my favorite parts of my job is getting to work with students like you, trying to figure out which post-secondary university is going to be the right fit for you. And it's always great to have the opportunity to chat with you. I know that choosing a college can be a really overwhelming time, but it's also a really exciting time. So I always say to students, don't forget about that. So I work at the University of Toronto, and as the name would allude, it is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So if you're looking for an international experience that's not too far away from home, Toronto is a great fit for you. We are Canada's largest university, so that means that there's lots of opportunities for you. I always say, when I say large university, sometimes students get really excited. Other times students are like, oh, large university, I'm not going to be part of a community. And I want you to know that even though we are a large university, there's going to be lots of opportunities for you to be a part of an incredible community. And by being a large university, it means that we have lots of choice and options for you. We want you to make sure that you're excited to be at U of T and that you're excited about what you're studying. So we have over 750 program options across our 3 campuses in arts, business, science, engineering, kinesiology, as well as architectural and visual studies. And I don't know if I said music, but music's in there as well. So lots to choose from, but not only inside the classroom, but outside of the classroom as well. So we have over 1,000 different extracurriculars and the largest intramural program in Canada. So if you're interested in playing sports, whether it's at the recreational level or varsity level, there's definitely something for everyone. We're ranked #1 in Canada and number 18th in the world. So I don't say that to pat ourselves on the back, but I really say that because it means that one of the questions we often get asked is, when you're looking at an international opportunity, what can you do after you graduate? And a lot of our students will stay in Toronto. Some of our students will go back to New York if they're from New York, or some students go other places around the world. We have over 195 different countries where our alumni have now graduated and have gone on to work. So if you're looking to study, in an incredible city that's very diverse, that has a great academic reputation, and has something pretty much for everyone, then U of T might be the right fit for you. I look forward to chatting a little bit more throughout the panel, but thank you all so much for being here, and I will pass it back over to Jill.
Okay, Chris, you want to take it from here? We'll stick with Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name's Chris Weber. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm UBC's regional representative here in New York. Very briefly about UBC, if you don't know it, University of British Columbia, we're in the west of Canada, and there's really only 3 things to know about us, which is our academic excellence. Yes, we are like #2 in Canada. We have wonderful rankings worldwide, which is fantastic. But I'm not going to mention rankings too much because you shouldn't be making your decision entirely based on those. I will mention we are the most international university in North America, where we're considered a world leader in sustainability and climate change. Maybe those numbers and those facts are more interesting to you. The second thing to know about UBC is our locations. Yes, we're in the west of Canada. However, we have 2 campuses providing 2 very different experiences. You can get a large city and a large campus where it rains in the winter, or a mid-sized campus in a small city where it snows in the winter. So very different experiences there. And then the final part of UBC, the academic excellence, the locations, and the active learning opportunities. We're very big fans of getting your hands dirty outside the classroom, whether that's research at the undergraduate level, paid work experience, study abroad, and over 200 different institutions, clubs, sports, Greek life. Who knew we had Greek life in Canada? So all of those things. I'm going to stop for now, but hopefully this gives you a bit of a picture of what UBC is.
Okay, now we will leave our continent, go on to Gabriella, go to the UK.
Thank you, Jill. All right, so my name is Gabriella, and I'm the Americas and Caribbean Regional Manager at Middlesex University, London. I'm based in New York, in the New York metro area, and I help students and families navigate the application process. I was also a student at Middlesex University, and I'm a very big advocate for British education, which you will see as I speak. I'm very, very passionate about it. So Middlesex University is the British university which teaches over 300 different programs in the faculties of art and design, science and technology, and the professional and social sciences, such as psychology, business, and law. We also have campuses in Mauritius and in Dubai. So those are international campuses. And almost 30% of our population is international. We're actually ranked 15th most international university. And that speaks for our international side. It's just a reflection of London, which is really the city where we're at. London is very international, so it wouldn't be surprising. All of our programs are taught practically with employment in mind. They're internationally recognized, so you can bring them back to the US or Canada or wherever it is that you're at. And they do not include general education modules, which is why higher education in the UK is generally more specialized and major focused. And it's also why bachelor studies in the UK are just 3 years long. So it's a really good option if you want a shorter degree in an international environment that will open doors for you. So I'm going to leave it there and pass it back to Jill.
Thank you, Gabriella. Okay, Cora.
Thanks,
You're on.
Jill. Yeah, now we're going to move over to the land of paella and flamenco for a couple of minutes, I guess. So hi, everyone. My name is Cora Morrison, and I'm the Senior Manager for North America for IE University, which is located in Spain. I'm actually based out of our New York office, and then, also helping different families around North America, along with my team, helping to navigate the process as well, and then also supporting them once they come back to the region as alumni. So if you're not familiar with IE University, it's an international European university located in Madrid and Segovia, Spain. So of course, Madrid is the capital of Spain, and Segovia is a city that is about an hour and a half's drive, or about 20 minutes away by high-speed train. We're a medium-sized university, and all of our programs are taught in English. So even if you do not know Spanish, it's not a problem. You can come to IE and you'll also learn Spanish while you're here. We're also very international. So 75% of the students are international students coming from around the world. Usually you might see about 10 to 15% of those students coming from North America each year, and then you can imagine the rest of them are from all over the world. And then also our programs are very career focused as well. So, we also use an experiential learning approach. There's no general education requirements. So, you're really taking classes that are related to your major. All of our programs are also accredited. So of course, students come back often to North America and continue with either their first jobs or perhaps even a master's degree. Also, we are widely ranked. I won't focus also very much on rankings here, but in terms of Times Higher Education, we're ranked very well for, like first university in Spain. And also we tend to rank very highly for global employability. So I look forward to speaking with everyone, and I'll share more, I guess, a little bit later, and I'll pass it back to you again, Jill.
Thank you. Okay, so now let's talk about how we apply to each of your institutions. Let's start in the opposite direction. So Cora, you could go ahead and talk about applying.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so there's actually 2 ways that you can apply to IE. We have rolling applications. So we don't necessarily have deadlines unless you are applying for a certain priority decision date and you want to get your decision a little bit faster and things like that. But there are 2 main ways. So you can either apply through our online application on our website, or you can apply to us through the Common App. We're also there on the Common App. So for a lot of students, it's usually a little bit easier for them to apply to us through there.
Okay, And oh dear, UCAS, here we go. Thank you, Cora. Let's go, Gabriella.
Okay, so unfortunately, there's the universities and colleges application system is UCAS, UCAS. That is a website. It's sort of like the Common App of the UK, and that's where you can apply to all British universities, including Middlesex University. Some British universities might accept direct applications, but not all of them will. So if you're applying for more than one British university, you are advised to apply through UCAS. You will have to state, it's basically an online form that you're filling out, and you will have to state which, or to type which qualifications you have, your GPA, if you've taken math, if you've taken English, and basically all of your 12th grade classes. If you've taken APs or SATs, you also need to state that. That will go to each of the 5 university choices, which is maximum choice of universities that you can select on UCAS. And each of your universities will be reading that personal statement, that reference letter from it. For Middlesex University specifically, you'll need a high school diploma with at least a GPA of 3.0 for most programs. For some science-based programs, you will need APs in science or AP maths, but not for most of them. So we are going tech flexible in September of this year. So if you want to apply and you didn't take SATs or ACTs for some reason, you still have a chance. And going forward, that will be the way. So one more thing, if you're applying for art and design programs, then you will need a portfolio or an audition. But basically that's it. I promise it's not as complicated as people think. It is very complicated when you start, but it's not difficult, it's just different. So if you allow me to walk you by the hand, or Jill, we are more than happy to help you through the process and get an offer for you.
Exactly. Okay, Chris.
All right, so Canada is a fun one because we only have about 5 universities in the country that are on the Common App. So that's generally not a thing you will do. Well, usually, I would say you apply directly to your institutions, except the province of Ontario has a system called UAC, which is like their baby Common App. And now the province of British Columbia has Education Planner BC, which is like our little baby Common App. So a little bit complicated, depending on where you're going. You might have to put in a few different systems. Now, generally, when you're applying to Canada, it's very straightforward. There's an application deadline. Some schools have rolling admissions. You just submit your application. Most schools, I don't think, ask very many questions. UBC is a bit of an outlier in that we ask all students to write about themselves. It's not one long essay, it's a few short questions, but we ask everyone to do that. And then generally, Canadian schools, once you submit your documents, which is after you apply, will only look at junior year and senior year grades. There are some exceptions. We might look at something in freshman year, something in sophomore year, but generally we're looking at recent results. We're also looking at relevant classes because you don't apply directly to a major like you would in the UK, but you can't come in undecided like you can in the US. You're applying to a general field. So say a Bachelor of Arts, or you're applying to the Faculty of Science or something like that. The language will depend on the institution you're going to, but you got to have a vague idea. But then we pick the classes we're going to evaluate you on based on what you're applying to. So it's a little more relevant, it's a little more friendly like that. And that's kind of it for UBC. I will say we are a strong academic institution. So A's, A minuses, maybe a B plus here and there, but really, even though we have that holistic component, we still need very strong grades.
Okay, and Erin?
Awesome. Thanks so much. And Chris gave a great introduction to kind of Canada as a whole. So
Right.
We are located in Ontario, so we are not on the common application, but if you're applying to U of T or any other university in Ontario, you would apply through the Ontario University Application Center. Sometimes we call it OUAC or UAC for short. Our application usually opens up in October, and we usually recommend students get their application in by early November. It's kind of a two-step application in the sense that you apply through the Ontario University Application Center. You're really just filling out some biographical information, letting us know your name, what universities you're interested in, and what programs you're interested in. And then about 2 weeks after you submit that application, that's where U of T is going to contact you, and we're going to give you your own portal where you'll log on and upload all of your documents there. So Chris gave a pretty good overview of that. For the most part at U of T, we are really just looking at GPA. There are some exceptions, typically business and engineering. There is a supplemental application, but most of our programs are really just focusing on GPA. We're typically looking for a B+ to an A-, but some of our more competitive programs like business, engineering, and computer science would be looking for a higher average than that. And our offers kind of go out anywhere between January to May. So hopefully that helps. Back to you, Jill.
Okay, so I have a question for all of you. We have students online who are AP students, IB students, but some of the private schools in New York and other areas now have gotten rid of AP, and they have their own honors courses. So it's been sort of a source of concern because there are no subject tests, no AP exams. So what does a student in that situation do? Who wants to go? Go ahead, go for it. Gabriella.
First of all, don't panic.
Okay.
Don't panic because we are here to help. So what would most likely happen in that case is that we would need to see your grades, right? All of your qualifications, and then take this to admission specifically, or take this to the faculty, and they will make the ultimate decision. It is likely that you will get an offer, but it's not a straightforward process as if you had an AP score. So again, don't panic, just be a little bit more patient, apply with a little bit more time in advance. But as long as that honors class is equivalent to an AP course, then that should be fine.
Okay, and while I have you here, can you explain about conditional offers?
Of course.
Thank you.
So there are 3 decisions that you can get when you apply to a British university via UCAS. You can get a rejection, which means I'm sorry, your qualifications, we do not meet our entry requirements, unfortunately. Then you can get an unconditional offer, which means perfect, that's great, that's an admission to the university. Or you can get something in between, or a pre-acceptance letter. That would be a conditional offer, which is conditional to either passing a specific AP exam, or most likely finishing high school and showing us your final diploma. Those are things that we need to have: a final diploma and a final transcript before we can issue a final admission letter, which would be an unconditional offer. And that is because there are visas involved in all of this, and we can't just make an acceptance letter without making sure that you or without seeing evidence that you've finished or gone through all of the steps.
Okay,
So
you.
that would be the difference.
Okay, so Cora, let's start with you. Why should a student consider studying abroad?
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, that is such a big question. I think also I can speak personally to this because I spent 6 years living in Spain, actually, myself. It was, not necessarily studying, but, definitely I think that the experience abroad can, first of all, open up yourself personally to so many new experiences. You become more resilient. You really learn a lot about yourself. You learn how to be resourceful. And it's also really amazing to learn more about another culture, another country. I had a chance to travel all around Europe, which I think was also an amazing experience. It's so easy to travel between countries there. I also think that, speaking more, maybe less on the fun side, maybe more on the professional side. I think that also if you have some international experience, living, studying, working abroad, it also can set you apart a bit now in the market here in North America. So if you have that opportunity to do it, I definitely advise you to take it, and really take advantage of learning all about different people from all around the world, taking advantage of those experiences. And also just in terms of, I think, more on the economic side, I really found that, well, it's funny, I actually didn't have as much culture shock when I went to Spain. I had more culture shock when I came back to New York, ironically, which was funny. I think a lot of that had to do, culturally, but also economically, because I had found that living in Spain, I found it much more affordable in many ways than living in the US. Even, I'm from Maryland, and so even kind of comparing Maryland and New York, but I really found it very different to come back. So I think that also is a great way, I think that sometimes students or families think it might be a little bit out of budget when maybe they just need to learn a little bit more about what that would look like since it is so different in many cases. So yeah, and I'll pass it back, Jill. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot to say there in that question.
Oh, Jill, you're on mute.
Muted, yeah. So who else has something to add to that?
I just unmuted
Okay.
anyway, so I might as well. I will
Okay.
just say, Cora alluded to the professional kind of side of things, the personal growth. And I will just say, there was a survey done, this was probably now like 3-4 years ago, looking at, I think it was something like 20,000 different employers. And about 80% of them said they actively look for candidates who have had international experiences. And I think that's because knowing that you've lived abroad, that you study abroad, says a lot about you without you having to say it. It says you've got the independence, you've got the resilience, you've got some maybe cross-cultural competence. Like there's a lot of little messages that are sent just by saying that. And believe you me, I grew up in Brazil. I went to college in Canada. Mom wasn't doing my laundry. I did grow a lot. I learned a lot of things along the way. So yeah, just to sort of echo everything Cora said and give you a little fun stat that you can now throw at people about why studying abroad is so great.
Anybody else have something to offer?
I'll just add on to it. I had the opportunity to live in another country after I graduated. And so that was like 11, 12 years ago. And I still talk about it in my job interviews because it's I learned so much during that experience. You gain independence, you meet so many cool people, but I still believe that even 11 years later, that it still is such a huge part of setting me apart when it comes to interviews and being able to speak about that. So it's one thing to travel to another country, but it's another thing to really live in another country and be able to be immersed in that. And all of our offices are here to help support you in that transition, because it is a big transition, moving away from home and living in a different country, but there's lots of supports here to help support you. So if you're thinking about going abroad and, want that sense of adventure, I definitely encourage you, because it truly will change your life for the better. And we're all here to help support you in that transition.
Thank you. Okay, let's talk about internships. Do your universities help students get internships, and are they allowed to work in your country? Go for it.
Yes. So students with a UK visa, UK student visa, students are able to work for up to 20 hours per week during term time. And then on Christmas or summer vacation, they're able to work full time. So what we do is we encourage students to do internships because they have that time allowance in the summer. It may not be part of the program. They may not be graded for it, which is good, because if you want to go home one summer and not have to do an internship, that's fine. But the university will also help you with that internship application. We have an employability center that helps students find jobs, internships, job placements as well. And it will be as specific as doing mock interviews, helping you make a CV properly, what to include in that CV, a cover letter as well. So there are a lot of training sessions to help students find those internships and jobs. So yes, students can work. Yes, students can do internships, and we encourage internships.
Thank you. And how about Canada?
I'll jump in, and Aaron, feel free to correct me if anything's wrong here. But yeah, Canada, I will say, yes, internships are great. You can work on your study permit, absolutely. But Canada's a very big fan of co-op. And if you've not heard of cooperative education, that's where you alternate a semester of study with a semester of work. So you don't do both at the same time. You don't have to juggle all of the things. Now, when you're on a semester of co-op, you're not going to class. You're getting paid work experience. It's relevant to what you're studying. It's mentored by someone in the field. And this is a really great opportunity to get hands-on experience that once you graduate, you've made these connections. Also, when you graduate from a Canadian school, you got a 3-year work permit, so you can stay in Canada. So co-op's a really great way to take advantage of that.
Great. Do you find many students do stay in Canada for those 3 years? Yes.
It's actually kind of funny, the people in my office, we have a couple of Americans, and they've come tour guides, and then they've stayed. And so we have a couple of Americans that work in our office, and yeah, Vancouver is great, and the Okanagan's great, Toronto is great. So lots of students do find that they love being there, and then they end up staying, and they do some pretty incredible things after they've graduated.
Right. And how about in Spain?
Yeah, so it's a little bit similar to what Gabriella was mentioning. So during the term, students can work 20 hours a week. We usually don't really recommend students to work that much just because the classes are also very, it's a lot to take during the semester. However, we also see that a lot of times that students will do internships, a lot of times in the summer, and they are prepared from the first year by our career services team also. So we do a lot of also trainings, in addition to things like CVs, mock interviews. We also do even like how to build out your LinkedIn profile, how to create, a social media brand through your LinkedIn and things like that and networking tips and things like that. And then also a lot of times what students will do is after they graduate, they will extend by 1 year. So in Spain, you can extend 1 year to actually try to find a job, a contract, and things like that in Spain. So I see that a lot of students do that as well.
Okay.
Can I just add something?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I forgot to mention that students who complete their studies in the UK are able to apply for a post-study work visa. That's what it's called, the post-study work visa, which allows them to stay up to 2 years. And if they are doing a PhD, if they just graduated from a PhD, then it would be 3 years in the UK. And it's for the purpose of going to job interviews, finding a job, starting to work. And that could later lead to an employment visa for much longer than that. So there's also that option in the UK.
Okay. So let's talk about financial aid. I know some international schools work with the FAFSA. You guys, everybody's nodding?
Yeah,
No.
the University of Toronto, and I don't know if it's the same for UBC. It might likely be, but yeah, we do accept FAFSA. We only accept the loan portion, not the grant portion. So just keep that in mind. And U of T also just introduced, as of this year, for international students, they have the option to fill out kind of a like an awards profile that takes into account financial need and things like that. So they can also be considered for additional kind of funding through that as well.
Great. And Spain?
I was going to say, unfortunately, we're not able to accept FAFSA. However, we do have over 20 different scholarships that students apply to. So when students are admitted, they can apply to 3 scholarships. And in general, those are based on a mixture of criteria depending on the scholarships that you're applying to. The majority of them are based on a mixture of need and merit. We also have some merit scholarships only. And then we also do accept actually, if anyone has any post 9/11 GI Bill benefits from the military, they can actually use those at IE as well for their dependents or anything like that.
So
yeah, so same for Middlesex. We do accept FAFSA, and we also have regional awards, they're merit-based regional awards for up to £5,000 towards the deduction of the first year's tuition fee.
So let's talk about housing. Do all of you have university housing, or do the kids have to find their own apartments? Everybody's nodding?
I will throw in a caveat about Canada in general. We only have about 97 public universities in the country, I think, and about 15 private ones, which means these are large schools in general. There's not very many of us, but we're large. So we usually guarantee first-year housing.
Okay.
After first year, it's just a simple math problem. If we're going to house UBC's, 46,000 undergrads on our Vancouver campus, we have to build a city for that. So unfortunately, first year only. But it's not mandated. You don't have to live on campus if you don't want to, but we usually guarantee first year.
And it's easy to find housing outside of the campus?
Yeah, and I think, Erin, you'll say the same for Toronto. I mean, our universities are in very student-friendly areas too, right?
Friendly area.
Yeah, I was just going to add that exactly what Chris said. The only thing I was going to add is we do have a housing office that does help support students finding off housing at campus, whether if you decide in first year you don't want to live in residence, we encourage you to live in residence if you want to be in residence. But in your upper years, when you move off, there is some support to help support you in finding housing. You're not left to your own devices. So there's a lot of support in helping you once you're ready to move off campus after first year.
So Segovia is kind of small. Do you have housing in Segovia?
Yeah, so I was actually going to add also like the caveat for us. So it's more normal in Spain that what will happen is that students will stay in a student residence that's near the campus, but it's not necessarily always going to be students there from that university. Now in Segovia, though, we do have a little bit of on-campus housing in our historic building. It's funny, it's actually behind me. But we do have some on-campus housing there, but then there's a bunch of different student residence buildings, all walkable. So what we usually do is we also usually recommend students stay their first year in a student residence if they can, but it's not mandatory also. So sometimes students prefer to either get an apartment alone or share an apartment with other classmates or friends that are already there. We also work with a company that helps to connect students and families for homestays called InFamily. And then we also have a student services department, which helps to connect students with them. And all of the student residences that we offer are on our website. They're vetted by us. And so, we do have these kind of like relationships with the student residences. So students aren't just going to, I don't know, like a crazy dorm somewhere, but yeah.
And in Madrid, the same?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually in Madrid, since it's such an urban campus and you're in the middle of the city, we don't have any student residence halls that are owned by IE, but we have those residence buildings that are surrounding again. Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay, here's a question about social life. So what does a typical weekend look like for your students? Start with Gabriela. You want to talk about clubs or activities that are organized through the university or what?
Sure. So because we are in London and only a short distance to central London, many of our students will spend their time there. Some will work during the weekend because they can't during the weekdays. Others will just go to the movies or bars, clubs, pubs in the UK. And if it's a long weekend, they will travel. We are literally just one train ride from the center of London to the center of Paris. And there are about 3 airports surrounding London where you can take flights, very, very affordable flights everywhere. And because you're geographically in the center of the world, it is easier and cheaper to go to places like the Middle East and Asia. So one thing that our students do a lot is travel.
Okay, and do you have university clubs? Are many students involved in actual student activities organized in the university itself? Yes.
So let me just give you an example of my favorite club. It's the ski club, and mind you, it doesn't even snow in London. But these guys, it's great. They meet for board games, for movie nights, for just basically anything. You don't need to know how to ski. You don't even have to ski, but it's such a big family, such a big community. But we have everything from that ski club to the Bollywood Society to the Latin American Society. And if there isn't one that calls your attention, you can simply make your own society and you'll get funding for it and you'll get all of the support by the University Student Union to make your own club or society.
How about at IE? Thank you. IE?
Yes, there's a ton to do actually. So we usually have about over 1,000 different student activities on campus by different clubs. We have over 120 clubs and athletics and things like that. So it's actually kind of funny because we even have a cheerleading club, in terms of athletics, which I thought was kind of funny, being in Spain. But yeah, I mean, one of my favorites, also just kind of talking about favorite clubs, is the STG club, because it was created by some students, that were studying the Bachelor of International Relations. And they said, hey, like, we want to create this club for other students who are interested in sustainable development goals. And the 2 students that actually ended up creating it were both from North America. So it was amazing, and I knew them, so it was great. But yeah, definitely a lot to do, and students are very involved, I would say, I think, like on campus, and also, taking part in the community too.
And back to Canada. Who wants to go first? Toronto.
I can go first. So Toronto is a great city. There's lots of things to see and do. I always tell students, you're never going to be bored. There's definitely something to choose. It's kind of like choose your own adventure. All of you who are listening probably have different interests and different hobbies. So there's definitely to find something that, you know, you can continue, whether you're involved in your school right now and want to continue that in university, maybe you want to try something totally new. My favorite club, since we're doing all favorite clubs, is the Beekeeping Society. I think that's kind of really neat, but there's over 1,000 different clubs. And so similar to what Gabriella was saying, you know, there's definitely something for everyone, but if there happens to be something you're passionate about and the club doesn't exist, you can start it up yourself. But by being in an urban, you know, city, you can catch concerts, you can catch professional sports games. So there's lots of things going on campus, and you could pretty much stay on campus and never leave kind of campus and definitely find something to do. But there's also lots of things going on, whether if you're a foodie, there's lots of great restaurants. By being a diverse city, there's like every kind of food you can imagine literally at your doorstep. If you like shopping, anything. So basically, no matter what your interests are, you're definitely going to be able to find something to do. And not only through extracurriculars, we have, you know, hundreds of different events that happen throughout the year as well on campus. And then also the city of Toronto puts on some incredible events and festivals. If you do end up in Toronto, definitely check out the Royal Ontario Museum. That's one of my favorite things to do. I'm a big museum buff. So whatever your interests are, you're definitely gonna be able to find something to do. And I'll pass it over to Chris to talk about what's going on in Vancouver and the Okanagan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yes, hundreds of student-run clubs. I alluded to Greek life. We have fraternities, we have sororities. We have thousands of students living on campus, so there's always someone's birthday. There's always something going on. But you know, you can get off campus too. We do have a campus for each campus for each city we're in. Now, they're surrounded by nature, so you can go for a, you know, go to the beach, go up to the mountains, go to a forest, and this is on both campuses, very accessible. Or just go to their cities. You know, our Okanagan campus is 20 minutes by bus from downtown Kelowna. Our Vancouver campus is 30 minutes by bus from downtown Vancouver. I'm not even that big a fan of downtown. I prefer neighborhoods that are about 10 minutes off campus. Buses are free for students because Canada. So, you know, there's always something going on, whether it's city life, whether it's outdoors adventures, whether it's just chilling on campus with some of the hundreds of, you know, clubs or you know, rec leagues or whatever it is that's going on. Always an event, never a boring moment.
Great. Okay, so is it possible to transfer into your universities and bring credits with you? We just keep you there, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, since I was talking, I'll carry on. Yes, UBC will accept usually a maximum of 2 years worth of transfer credits. So yeah, if you go to a college beforehand or you had a different university and you feel like UBC would be a better fit, we always welcome transfer applicants. There may be fewer seats to enter into second year of a program or into third year of a program, but it's certainly open. We always have some seats open for transfer students. So yeah.
And Toronto, same?
Yeah, similar. There are some exceptions to some programs. So I always say if you're thinking about transferring, just speak with somebody in our team and we can walk you through it. But we do, for the most part, accept transfer students. We just want to make sure you're getting the best advice. And because there's so many different programs and so many different areas where you may be coming from, it's best to contact us. But yeah, we definitely take transfer students into, I'd say, the majority of our programs, but there are some exceptions.
Okay, and what about IE? Is it possible?
It is possible. I was gonna say, I feel like, you know, we do, of course, welcome transfer students to apply. I would kind of add though, it, you know, again, kind of like Erin was saying, if you are someone who's thinking of transferring, please book a call with one of us. And so that we can take a little bit of a look at kind of like your specific situation and what you want to study, because at IE, our study plans are very laid out. So you know exactly what you're going to be taking, like first year, first semester, first year, second semester, etc. And so I wouldn't want you to apply thinking like you're going to jump into your third year, but maybe all of your credits aren't going to transfer exactly the way you are hoping to line up. So I usually like to have those kind of like consultation calls just to kind of get a little bit more of an understanding of, you know, what you studied before and what you're interested in transferring into, just to kind of explain your options and what that might look like and things like that. Although it is possible, and usually, and we actually work with something called ECTS. So usually that's kind of like the translation to the Europe credit system and everything. So, you know, I like to try to explain that and also take a look at what could be possible to transfer over. But basically, if someone does apply as a transfer student, they'll get a preliminary credit report from us, and then they'll be able to see in advance which courses would transfer, what year they would come under, and things like that.
Thank you. And Middlesex, what do we do?
Thank you, Jill. That's great advice, Cora. So yes, we do accept transfers, and you can transfer into years 1, 2, or 3. What I do like to make students aware, especially students in the US, is that a year 1 in the US is not equivalent to year 1 in the UK. So it is very unlikely that after studying year 1 at a US university, you're able to transfer to year 2. It would be more likely that you can restart a year 1. And remember, it's just a 3-year degree. So it's not like you're redoing, you will be taking year 2. This is going to be confusing, but you will be taking year 2 classes even at our year 1, because in year 1 in the US, you were actually taking what in the UK we teach in high school level. I hope that makes sense. Did it? Should I rephrase it?
Yes, it makes sense. No,
Okay.
And if anyone has any question about this, you can follow up with any of us at Smart City
Well,
Kids or with Gabriella directly.
Yeah.
We'll give
I'll
you
leave my contact details because it can be
we
confusing.
can provide you. Okay, so here's a fun question. Do you have any amazing school traditions? Anybody?
I can jump in
Okay.
maybe with my favorite one.
Okay.
So my favorite tradition, so we have a bunch of different, large events that we put on during the year. And there's one tradition that combines the masters and the undergraduate students that I really love, and it's called Global Village. And so every year, kind of this big area is taken over by different booths. And there's, basically, since we have so many nationalities at IE, what happens is they kind of group together and they'll offer, at that booth, maybe there'll be food from that one country, they'll be playing music, they'll have people dressed up in, like local outfits or like whatever they want to showcase about that region. And it's kind of a really big festival for the whole day. It's a lot of fun. There's like music performances and a lot of people dancing. It's kind of a celebration of all the different nationalities at IE.
That's great. And you are nodding over here, Erin. So you have something exciting for us?
Yeah, I was nodding along, and it's neat to hear about every university's kind of different traditions. We have so many, but I think one of my favorite ones, and we often talk about this on our campus tours, is the University College Fireball. So we've been around for a long time, and University College has been around since a very long time, I think since 1827 when we were founded. But there was a big fire around Valentine's Day in 1890. It was burnt down. Somebody was walking with a tray of kerosene lanterns and tripped and fell and lit the entire staircase on fire, and most of the building was burnt down. So every year around Valentine's Day, University College has what they call a fireball. So they still gather and kind of honor that kind of event, and it's different themes. So it's been like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. They've had a couple different themes, and everyone gets dressed up and attends that. So I always think it's kind of neat because since it burnt down in 1890, and that kind of tradition still lives on. And that's just one example. There's so many different examples, but that's kind of one of my favorite traditions that happens at the University College.
Thank you. And Chris, you have something for us?
Yeah. At UBC, it's an unofficial statement that you have not graduated unless you've done Storm the Wall. Now, Storm the Wall is the largest single intramural event in North America. There are thousands of students who take part, and essentially, it's running and cycling and swimming, and it all culminates in climbing a 12-foot wall. So the reason it's so popular is that the wall is right in the middle of campus, and you're walking to class and suddenly you see someone and they're doing like Iron Person. They're going solo, because usually as a team you can climb on each other's heads. But when you see one person just jumping and almost getting his fingertips every time, you can't not watch. And so you just get late for class because you need to see how this ends. And so yes, Storm the Wall is an unofficial requirement for graduation at UBC.
That's great. And at Middlesex, what do we have?
So apparently we're not that fun.
You're not that fun.
But I will say that every year we welcome all of our international students for an international welcome week. And then on the first Monday, we bring them all, we do an international tea party with impersonators of the Queen and Harry Potter and Meghan Markle. Well, maybe not anymore, but yes, it's a great opportunity to meet other international students, to meet the staff and lecturers as well, and to take really cool photos. So I think that's a really nice tradition that we now have for a long while.
So I think we will end on that happy note. We're all cheerful, climbing walls and balls. And so I want to thank you all so much for joining us this evening. And for those of you who have joined us for the panel, if you have any questions at all, you can contact me. I'm going to put my email right now here, and I can connect you with any of our panelists if you have specific questions for any of them. So thank you so much and good evening.